As determined by Glamorgan Spring Bay Council in April 2017, all ordinary and special meetings of Council are to be audio-visually recorded and streamed live. A link is available on the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council website to the YouTube platform, where the public can view the meeting live and watch recordings of previous Council meetings. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and Regulation 33, these video-audio files will be retained by Council for at least 6 months and made available for viewing live, as well as online within 5 days of the scheduled meeting. The written minutes of a meeting, once confirmed, prevail over the video-audio recording of the meeting. Welcome councillors, staff and members of the public, and I declare the meeting open at 5:01. The Glamorgan Spring Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. All councillors are present. In attendance we have Mr Schroeder, Council's General Manager, Garrett, Miss Garrett, Council's, I know the first name, Council's Executive Officer, and Ms Bevilacqua, Council's Planner. I request elected members to indicate whether they have, one, any interest personally or via a close associate as defined in section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or any conflict as described in Council's Code of Conduct for councillors in any item included in the agenda.
Yes, I'm declaring an interest in item 8.10, the additional funding for the Prosser Plains Raw Water Scheme.
Sure.
132.
I'm declaring an interest in 8.10 as well.
Thank you. No further interest? 2.1, ordinary meeting of Council, November 26th. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on Tuesday the 26th of November 2019 at 5 p.m. be confirmed as a true and correct record.
Move a second, please. Councillor Owen. Open for discussion. Councillor Browning, you had some.
Yeah, I've got some page 15. The minutes. 194.19 was to be noted and not received and noted, and it's still on the website as received and noted.
Sorry, just 194. Page 15 of.
Page 15 of the minutes.
Public question time?
No, sorry, it's the previous, it's the October the 22nd minutes that I'm talking about here, that was, not the 26th of November. So, sorry about that.
Not that one.
Yeah, so, and page 20, which is the use of electronic devices, and still it's not changed on the website, the dates, the 26th of November 19, version 3, November 2023, to be reviewed.
Okay, so that's just for noting to update
Yep.
the website?
Yep. And page 21, the recommendation had 2019, the cost of conducting the 2019 annual Christmas Day lolly. It's just
So in the motion, in the decision,
in the decision.
not the recommendation,
Yeah.
the decision, it said
2019.
What's the cost of conducting the
Yeah.
2019 instead of annual?
And page 29. It's the same thing, instead of annual, 2019. It's just, and page 31 was just really through the mayor to Chris, just that some information was meant to be provided about the half marathon back for this meeting. So,
That hasn't been received as yet.
yeah, so that's all I've got.
Okay, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Arnold, are you happy with those?
Yep.
Amendments? Okay, any further? Put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. There was a workshop held, item 2.2, on November 26th, and a further workshop at 2.3 on December the 3rd. The agendas are shown. Could I have a motion, please?
I move that council notes this information.
Sorry, I'm not going to have a motion. I'm just going to go. The council notes this information. Thank you. Okay, page 9, petitions. And we've got 3.1, which is a petition received, reconsider the construction and position of Swansea Loo with a view. Just on that matter, we've had some advice. I wrote to the Director of Local Government in respect to that. The address is unknown, which is in breach of section 57. Yep, section 57. However, this matter is discussed further in the manager of buildings report, and I think regardless of the fact that there's a bit of missing information, I think we can still consider it. So there is no motion there, but possibly we could move to discuss if somebody would like to put a motion along those lines. Councillor Brenny?
Yeah, I move to discuss the matter of petition. Lou with a view.
Thank you. Somebody to second that? Councillor Simons? So all I was going to say there was on page 75. Oh, sorry, put the motion. All those in favour to discuss? Unanimous, thank you. So all I was going to say there on page 75, it says the main loo with the view was ready to move out onto the turpentine piles. When the engineer expressed concerns about the structural integrity of those piles, in addition to the problem with the piles, a petition has been received by council to consider an alternative position. In light of both issues, we are moving the building to the depot for storage, while cost implications and alternative positions discussed by council and a decision made. This will be done in the new year. I think that's a pretty good summary. Ooh. Is that you? I think that's a pretty good summary of where it's at. So one toilet is being set up for this summer, and the other one's been moved to the depot, and there'll be further discussion and community consultation about the future of both toilets in the new year. So is there any further comment on that matter? No. Okay, so possibly then maybe council would note the petition as the next.
If council would note that.
Councillor Brenny, you're moving something along those lines?
If council could note the petition. Do we need to mention further whatever? Just note the petition. Thank you.
Somebody to second that council notes the petition. Councillor Churchill. Any comments? No. Okay, move the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. 3.2 is the petition received. Remove the fences in relation to the Prosser River Bird Sanctuary. Would we like to move to discuss that also? Somebody?
I'll move to discuss it.
Councillor Churchill? Councillor Brenny, need a second. Open for discussion. If I could now go to the General Manager, would you like to discuss the validity of this?
We vote on whether to.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I put the motion, sorry, missing that point tonight. Unanimous, thank you. So the advice received was that it would be compliant, even though what's in the agenda has the names covered, the addresses covered, is that correct?
That is correct. For privacy reasons, we've covered that, but we do have the appropriate detail to regard this to be a petition.
And each sheet has been assessed in accordance with section 57?
Yes.
Okay, so it's being considered as a valid petition.
Yeah, I just, through the Mayor, I'd just like to, yeah, that needed to be acknowledged because I didn't realise that myself, that the petition was compliant. I wasn't informed of that. But I think that this whole issue will be dealt with further in the agenda, and I think that once again what's being discussed later in the agenda should cover what's required here. I think, yeah, I would put a motion that this be received and noted.
Just hold that motion while we're in discussion.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay. Any further comment? So, yep, no? Okay, so item 8.7 in this agenda will further consider matters pertaining to the fencing in the vicinity of the Orford spit. So that's basically what you said, Councillor Churchill, but it's item 8.7, just noting that. So your motion is that?
To receive and note the petition.
Somebody to second that, please. Councillor Browning. Any comment? Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item 4. So there is no planning.
Yes, so item 4 and 4.1 has been removed. Effectively, we've got an extension on the time frame to the 31st of January 2020, so we'll be considering that item in the January ordinary meeting of council.
Through the Mayor, could you, what was that date again?
We've got an extension on this particular one from the applicant through to the 31st of the 1st, 31st of January 2020.
Any further questions on that? Moving on to page 42, public question time. There's several questions in there. One was from MH Cook, and it was concerns relating to information published in C-Speak newsletter, re the works in Harold Street, Coles Bay. The response has been made by the General Manager. The next was from Mr Kickett, a question regarding his concerns re Councillor Churchill voting on a matter on Council's involvement in pursuing the construction of Tomley Dam in particular, decision 17719. A response is provided by myself.
Through the Mayor, could I make comment there on that? Just
I don't think so, because it's been answered.
It's just that there will be more coming through this meeting in relationship to that this afternoon.
Okay, maybe you need to do it at the end. Do you want to do it at the end?
I'm fine,
Or-
wherever you think. It's
Okay, so what's the legislative?
So basically, the question has already been addressed. I'm not sure if you can move a motion to have a discussion on the answer of the. Haven't come across it.
Okay, so the question is normally to the chair, but in the past
Yes.
others have been given an opportunity. I've put in here that you advised you did not feel you had any conflict in respect to the decision. If you wish to add to, do you wish to add to that?
No, I just wish to agree with that and just state that there have been 2 legal opinions sought that both back that statement. One was sought through the General Manager with the council's lawyers, and I received my own through my own barrister. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll be noted. Another question from Mrs. Jen Hacker, question regarding works being carried out in Harold Street, Coles Bay, response provided by the General Manager. And another question from Mrs. Marjorie Howard, question relates to Councillor Arnold voting on matters pertaining to Twomley Dam in 2017 and 18. The response is being provided by me. There's 3 questions. Would you mind handing the microphone to Kerry Handley in the pink jacket? And pearls. In the pearls. Sorry, Kerry, should have noticed that.
No, not at all, not at all. My question is to the General Manager. What is the connection between the recent felling of trees on the Solace site and the progress of the Solace project?
I'll probably have to take that as a question on notice. I need to get an update on that. I'm not aware of that connection, but I will undertake to find out what the connection is and provide some detail back on it.
Okay, so the next question is from Steve Barrett. Where are you, Steve? Oh, there you are. In the green T-shirt with our pearls.
Through the Mayor, probably to the General Manager. I think 7 months ago, you agreed to put a request for a change of speed limit. In fact, 2. There was one in Buckland and one in Cambria Drive. I just wondered if there's been any further movement on that, those changes.
Yeah, in regards to that, I understand that the Buckland application was not approved, if I'm remembering correctly. And as to the other one, I'll probably have to come back to you on that. I can't remember what the outcome of that one was. I'll come back to you on that.
Thanks very much.
It's in the reports in this document.
Okay, I can't remember it off the top of my head to reference this.
It has been agreed to.
Yeah, okay.
I'll just read it out, Steve. Council requested Department of State Growth, DSG, undertake an assessment of the current speed limit along the Cambria Drive with a view of reducing the limit from 80 kilometres an hour down to 60 kilometre an hour in the interest of general safety. The recent response from the Manager Traffic Safety indicates his initial agreeance of the speed reduction request and that he will submit Council's request to the Transport Commissioner for final approval. Timeframe unknown.
Thank you.
That's all, Steve. And now Wayne Murray in the middle, in the khaki.
As an administration that prides itself on openness and transparency, I wonder if it's possible for the council to give any more information regarding the reason why some items become confidential. As we know, there are 5 items on the agenda today. Past experience with, for example, the drought funding deed has suggested that often items are treated as confidential without good reason. I wonder, is it possible for council to provide a little more reason regarding some items before they become confidential on the agenda?
Thanks, Wayne. So I did request further information in respect to the items that were placed on the confidential agenda, and there is a better description has been provided now. And in accordance with the Act, because there are only certain items that can be considered in confidential. So would you like me to tell you what they are now? So item 1 is Orford Bowls Club, and it says payment of invoice. So it says under Regulation 15 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, Statutory Rules 2015, number 38, the meeting will be closed to the public according to Regulation 15.2G1, commercial information, prejudice the commercial position. So that's that one. I won't read the statutory rules for the next ones, okay? Australia Day Awards is information of a personal and confidential nature. There's an item there that's been moved into open, which was the matter of the potential land transfer or purchase proposal. That actually was in open session. It's been duplicated, so that's in open. The other item is Wineglass Bay Cruises, and that the reason for that is in accordance with section 15.2F, proposal for council to acquire land or an interest in land or for the disposal of land, and I, litigation. And item 4, so I will say that that's simply about an existing lease. And item 4 is development of statements of expectation. So that is closed under Regulation 15.2A, personnel matters, and D, contracts. So that, I'll expand a little on that just to say that that's simply about mentors / advisors, so assistance in certain matters.
Thank you. That's a far fuller answer than I expected or anticipated. What I was hoping was that the council might, in general, list a reason for an item to be confidential with the listing, just so that the
They
public
have
are
to
aware.
be, and that's why I asked for this to be produced after I got the agenda, because under the Act, it has to be clear and concise to everyone why it's being put into confidential, and it has to have a valid reason in accordance with the Act. Is that the lot? No.
I'm wondering whether there's been any resolution of the contamination issue at Radar Beach. I note that the signage is still there today, so I'm assuming that there hasn't been a resolution of it. On the assumption that there is no resolution of it to date, is it not premature for the council, indeed potentially rather embarrassing for the council, to publish a plan or proposed plan for this area, which, as far as I can see, has no consideration whatsoever of that issue?
That issue is still sitting with EPA. They're the lead agency in regards to it, and we're complying with their requirements.
So I think the question just goes one bit further in that I think Mr. Murray would be saying the fencing that's been put up, the bunting that's been put up there, if there's any further bunting required in the event that the fence was removed, more bunting would be put up in accordance with the EPA requirements.
We'll definitely comply with their requirements.
Yes.
Sorry, I was going a bit further than that, if I may explain. Yeah. It was that if this is possibly a continuing issue in this area, is it unwise to propose a potential plan for the area at this point?
I think when you look at a master plan, you factor in all the elements that relate to it, and I think there's no issue in looking at the whole area holistically and determining a master plan for it. I don't see it as a restriction. I just see it's a aspect that you need to consider in your overall plan. So it's just one of the factors that you need to take into account. There are many factors we need to consider, and that would be one of them. It's a issue of concern, but you would consider that in the overall plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 6.6 are information reports. They run from page 48 to 83. Any questions or comment?
I noted your question and the answers that the General Manager sent back on email, so that satisfied me a little.
Okay.
That's all right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Councillor Churchill.
Just one there that I have in the profit and loss for Glamorgan Spring Bay, page 56. There's figures in there that could be a little bit misleading, and where it's showing a net profit or net surplus of 4%, which is 150,000. If you go up to where it says grants, state and capital and other on capital grants, you'll see there's been 350,000 come in there as a grant that was unbudgeted. So in fact, to get a more realistic figure for that net profit, that 350 should come out of there, which would actually change that figure of the surplus there from a 4% figure down to a -4 or -5%. Do you understand?
So is that state capital, what is that relating to?
That particular 350K, and I
It's
take
for the
it as
boat
a
trailer parking. I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
the boat trailer parking was in regards to.
I might have
That's
it wrong.
correct. That's exactly what it is, because it was a grant of $400,000 and we got 350 up front and 50K to pay. So that's what it relates to. Correct.
Yeah. I just thought it needed to be noted. That was
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, if we could do, thank you. So that had already been endorsed by council, so the year-to-date budget needs to be updated.
Yeah.
Any comments? Okay, I've got a few questions. I did ask questions, councillor Pike, but I haven't seen the response yet, so I have got a few questions. Or comment on page 59, that's a duplication. There, it's run over. So,
Mayor, just on that page, the event allocation there at the bottom for,
are you going back to the page you were referring to?
no, back to the page you were just referring to, 59. It says that the event there, the allocation for education, it's gone through there now as 30,000 complete. I know that figure can't be correct because that event didn't cost 30,000. I think we mentioned it.
Through
in
the
last-
chair. So effectively, if you look at this particular table, you'll see that we've got the government funding column, and then we've got the invoice received to date. So at this point, we have not received any invoice in relation to the $30,000, but the activity is complete.
Thank you.
That's Chris.
Page 67, the Canter truck and the replacement of its tyres, I think it was. Who owns the Canter truck?
The Mitsubishi Canter truck is an SES vehicle, but it's council owned, therefore council pays for the tyre replacement on that.
So it's SES,
But it's
but
council owned.
ratepayers pay
Correct.
for it.
Correct.
On page 68, this is one of the questions that I sent, which in respect to other revenue, year-to-date actuals 43,000 and year-to-date budget 5. Have you got an answer for?
Yep, so the 43,000 in other revenue is income from Stornoway highway maintenance work from June 2019 that wasn't received until October 2019.
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
The 43,000 in the other revenue is income from Stornoway highway maintenance work from June 2019 and that wasn't received until October 2019.
And the materials and services, there's an overspend year-to-date of 60,000.
Yep, so the 8% discrepancy is materials for general road maintenance works. This will come back on track in the new year when staff concentrate on the majority of the second half of the work on capital works projects.
So it'll get back on track
It will
early in
come
the
back on
new
track,
year.
Correct, yep.
Excuse me, could you direct me to that location of what you were talking about?
68.
Page 68.
Yep,
Materials and services.
yep.
The $60,000
Operating
over budget.
Expenses.
Yep, the variation.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Page 71. Materials and services, there's a $53,000 overspend on approved budget there.
Yep, so I think it's worth stating in advance that the budget that was prepared was done with some degree of consultation with management, but not the extensive consultation I'd normally expect. I think some of the budgetary figures are somewhat arbitrary for the start. I don't think that they're particularly well-researched or determined figures that we should be looking at. But anyway, on behalf of our particular manager in this area, we've had a look at it, and it seems to be that we've got a Swansea Courthouse Culture Report for $8,250. That's something out of the ordinary. Other costs were in relation to the Harbour Master, and we've also got some issues in regards to earlier on for the replacement of existing faulty system, compressor and air conditioning system. That's the information I've got to hand at this point.
Okay, so what's the proposal therefore, if you think they're arbitrary and not well researched, what's the solution? Are you going to put forward an alternate for council to consider because there's a budget and...
So I think when we've got sufficient resources to be able to undertake the exercise, we need to review some of the budgetary lines.
On page 79, which is Buildings Department, there's a $32,000 overspend from year to date on materials and services, which represents a 24% overspend. Is that in the same situation?
That's probably a bit easier to explain, that one. It's this situation at the moment. Some time ago we had our manager in the planning section resign. I think it was mid-September. Since that time we've been using contract planners to fill that capacity. So we've got a scenario where effectively we're under on the salary aspect and we're over on the contract element, and they come out to a similar figure overall.
There's only there's a $25,000 difference.
If you look at all the lines there, you expect, number one, when you're using contract planners, they charge at a higher rate, so that will be part of it, but you need to offset the reduction in wages.
Oh, I understand that, but there's a $25,000 difference.
Yep, so the difference relates to the cost of contract planning labour over permanent
I understand
staff.
that, so will that come back as a proposed review of the budget, of the approved endorsed budget?
I'll consider that and take the appropriate action.
Okay, that's all of my questions. No further questions? Okay, recommendation here that council, the management reports are received and noted. Item 7.1, which is the GSBC and RM committee minutes dated 13th of November 2019. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Brown.
That council receives and notes the draft minutes of the GSBC NRM committee meeting dated Wednesday the 13th of November 2019.
Need a second?
Yes.
Councillor Arnold. Any comment? No, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 7.2, Prosser River. Could I have a motion, please?
Move that council receives and notes the draft minutes of the Prosser River Advisory Group meeting dated 29th of November 2019.
Sorry, Councillor Browning. I'll put you down as a seconder. Okay. Any comment? I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous? Item 8.1, 2020 ordinary meetings, meeting dates and times. Could I have a motion, please? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I'd like to move to discuss, please.
Second to discuss. Councillor Pike. Open to discussion.
Yes, if I may. I believe this was discussed at a workshop which I unfortunately didn't attend, and I just would like to know, with that discussion that was held at the workshop, the rationale behind the proposal to move the meeting times to 2 p.m.
Yes.
instead of 5 p.m.
The rationale to change them.
Yes.
Okay, the General Manager, do you want to answer that?
The rationale that I understand was that the majority, well, the councillors in the workshop at the time put forward that time to suit them.
No. So as you know, last 12 months we did a trial run of half and half. So there was a 2 o'clock and a 5 o'clock. So it's this is what it's on our agenda for here now, that you can pick a time. The time hasn't been listed there, so if you've got a time to put up, feel free to put one up. We can also change the day. If people don't like a Tuesday, you can make it a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever day that suits you. It's open for discussion.
And can I just, and I know it's because of this, but because of the recording, but, you know, to have it in Swansea maybe. I'm just throwing that out there as a suggestion. Not every meeting, but maybe a meeting or something.
I think that'd be quite difficult now. We've got a lot of people that, you know, come in on and watch the video audio of the meetings, around 100, I think, you know, often a month. And when we were doing those meetings and going town to town, there wasn't a lot of people that attended, and we also have our Community Connect sessions in every town where people can come and actually, it's better than a council meeting because they can talk. You know, so we're having more engagement now than we've ever had around the municipality, and engaging with more people than, I remember many a meeting in Coles Bay where there was no one other than Philip Pike and Keith Pike were present, but often there was no one. And even Bicheno was very light on in people coming. So I personally think that what we're doing in respect to the Community Connectors has more value than having a council meeting and then 100 people will miss out on seeing what's happening personally. That's all. Deputy Mayor, do you have some thoughts on times?
Yes, if I may, I just would, I think the meetings that we had this year that we had at 2 p.m. in the winter time were a good idea. It got people back home at a reasonable hour, and also with regards to driving at night. So I mean, I would like to see that remain the same, like we have June, July and August at 2 p.m. and the rest of the meetings at 5 p.m.
Councillor Churchill?
To Deputy Mayor Woods, through the Mayor, I think there was a lot longer period than just the 3 months of winter leading in. I'd like to see whatever the pattern was for last year, and I can't remember. I think it started in April at 2 o'clock and then went through, I think, until either the August or I think it might have been even the September meeting was at 2 o'clock. But I stand corrected, I don't have those dates with me.
If I may, Madam Mayor, I think it was the period of no daylight saving that we had the 2 p.m. one. Does that ring a bell for anybody?
That could well be.
I think so.
So that would mean April to September being at 2 p.m.
Yep.
And the other meetings, so January, February, March, and October, November, December at 5, and April, May, June, July, August at 2 p.m.
Personally, I don't really mind, but from the numbers that turned up, our regular people were certainly here at 2 p.m. and at 5 p.m. I don't think it impacted on attendance at all throughout the whole year. I mean, well, tonight we've got a lot of people here, but I think that's agenda items rather than timing of the meeting. But, you know, I don't think it had a negative impact starting at 2. So I really, I don't mind, but I'd probably prefer the 2 o'clock. And personally, so we can get home. It's pretty hard getting your brain into water at 5 o'clock, and then you can go through to 8 o'clock at night, and you've already done a full day's work before you get here. So from a functioning brain perspective, I'd prefer the 2 o'clock rather than trying to chair from 5 on. But, you know, I'll go with whatever, you know, the majority want. I just don't think that it had a negative impact on people attending the meeting.
Yeah, I'd just
Councillor Churchill?
like to have it done the same as last year. I actually thought there was only 5 months where we had the 2 o'clock one, not 6, but I stand corrected. I just haven't got those numbers in front of me, but it seemed to work with daylight saving and everything else last year. So my feeling would be to have the same pattern, whatever it was.
So last year was a trial
Yep.
to see if we could get, to see how it impacted on people attending.
Yep.
So, and it was a trial, and it was also because of winter and hitting animals and damage to vehicles and so forth.
Yep.
So that was the purpose of why we did it last year.
Yeah, we were being very selfish as people from the north, you know, we got further to drive, and
Yes,
it was for our
certainly-
benefit
You
primarily.
certainly do have a little further to drive. Councillor Breeny?
Through the Mayor, I'd like to hear councillors and interested people's views on why we need to be starting at 5. You know, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I mean, councillors who have to drive maximum amounts, Councillor Cyrus, for instance, would probably be best able to tell us how long driving affects the situation.
I was pretty happy with last year's times. That was fine with me. I'd be happy to do that again.
But as I say, I understand, you know, I'm quite inclined that way too, but if there is no real reason for having them at 5 p.m, then 2 p.m. gets you home before the wallabies and stuff. But I presume there might be a problem with people who are working who would like to attend the meetings, but then again we have it recorded, so it's difficult to say. We could do a trial of starting them at 2 p.m. and see how that works.
So,
I don't know.
Deputy Mayor, what's the reason for the 5 p.m? Have you got a reason for the 5 p.m?
Oh, it's probably just because it's always done that way, and there is some sort of, I can't recall off the top of my head, but there is a legislation that the meetings start at 5 o'clock, and it's up to individual councils when and what time they have their meetings. I certainly appreciate that, but just for your information, I have got up on here what the meeting times were of this year. So it was January 5 p.m, February, March 5 p.m, and then April, May, June, July, August at 2 p.m, and September, October, November, December 5 p.m.
Just in relation to the legislation you're referring to, that's simply that if you wish to have a meeting prior to 5 p.m, it requires an absolute majority vote.
That's correct.
Which that's all it is.
Yeah.
So a council
Yep.
can determine what time it has a meeting. And I also think, and I know we come across this last time when we wanted to have a special meeting and we hadn't noted that, and so we need, in my opinion, to note that now, that we can hold special meetings prior to 5 p.m, because there was a situation where we had to wait around to have a special meeting until 5, and it was in the winter period. So I think it'd be worthwhile putting into a motion that special meetings can be held any time after 2 p.m, something like that, particularly during the winter period. So Okay, so does somebody want to, what about the Tuesday? I think that was for, Deputy Mayor, that was because of your work, what
No,
traditionally?
no,
Was it?
no, Tuesday, it wasn't because of my work commitments, it's how I personally work myself around being able to attend council meetings. It's got nothing to do with the dates.
So would that date suit you with your work commitment
The
still?
dates, Tuesday's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care what day it is, probably not a Friday, but I don't mind what date. Tuesday suit.
Tuesday's best.
Yeah,
Tuesday's
Tuesday's
for me.
Okay, so, Councillor Browning, do you have a thought, or Councillor Pike?
I enjoyed, through the mayor, I enjoyed not travelling home in the dark during winter. We hit enough wildlife.
I don't think that's not a question here. The question is, the 5 o'clock versus the 2 o'clock starts.
It doesn't worry me.
Support, I'm fine with either of them. I'm local, so right here, so.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so someone want to move it, if we've discussed it, somebody want to move a motion?
So I move a motion that council approves the 2020 ordinary meetings of council dates and as detailed in the attachment, and confirm the time of each meeting as well as the dates of the AGM as noted to 2 p.m. On Tuesdays, the fourth Tuesday of every month, that's correct, at 2 p.m. I'm quite happy for it to go to 2, I just wanted to discuss.
Sorry,
So the motion is that council approves the 2020 ordinary meeting of council dates as Tuesday, dates as the fourth Tuesday of the month. Are you getting that, Miss Garrett?
Yes. 2 p.m.
At 2 p.m.
Through the mayor, is that all of them at 2 p.m?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's not the motion. It's
just hold on, just let Deputy Mayor Woods. So far I've got the council approves the 2020 ordinary meeting of council dates as the fourth Tuesday of the month, commencing
Yes.
at 2 p.m.
Yes.
Including, what about something about the special meeting? Yeah.
So, and special meetings can be held at any time from 2 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, councillor Pike. Fourth Tuesday of the month, okay, hold on a moment, and just the AGM date, please? It's not the fourth Tuesday.
No, it's not.
so-
The AGM is the
15th.
15th of December.
And the AGM will be held on the 15th of
Yes.
December.
Yep.
At 2
2 p.m.
Yeah,
I thought it was just prior to the 15th or prior.
it's listed on here as the 15th.
Yeah, okay.
We set the date.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it has to be 15th or prior,
Yeah,
correct?
okay.
So that's why the date's there, it's the
Alright.
15th. Okay, so you're right
Yep.
with that?
Just ask before you complete that. The December 22nd, that is the fourth Tuesday, is it?
That would be, yes.
Right. Excellent.
Can we just check, confirm that as we are with councillor Pike, and then I'll come to you, councillor Breeny?
I have to, sorry. December, what was it again? The 22nd is the 4th.
It is the fourth Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Done.
And councillor Breeny?
It's okay, I've just read the 15th of December is the AGM. Thank you.
That's a Thursday.
15th of December.
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I was looking 15th is this Tuesday. I beg your pardon. I looked at the wrong side.
Okay, so everyone is right with the motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second that, I read that.
Okay, no further comment? Put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Pardon?
We have the door open.
Jackie, would you mind pushing the door open, please? It's got really hot. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, you can turn that kettle off if you like, if that's in your ear. Turn that kettle down. Is that making a noise for you? It becomes noisy, just, thank you. Okay, moving on to 8.2, draft policy rates and charges. So, I think it was this Oh yeah, no, that one's right, isn't it? So, there is a recommendation on page 100. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Brenny.
I move that council adopt the policy attached to this report dated 17th December 2019 entitled Rates and Charges Policy version 3.
Would you second that, Councillor Churchill? Open for discussion.
Mayor, could I just ask you a question? It's on page 102 and it's in relation to paragraph 9. It says, council will continue to accept the payment of rates in full or by 4 instalments on or before the due date shown on the rates notice. Council also has a pay by the month, fortnightly, whatever. Does that line exclude that payment option now? I think we've had this conversation before and I don't think it does, but I'm just wondering whether the option of pay by the month or fortnightly or whatever, direct debit, should be included in this policy if we're updating the policy.
Yeah, well, it should, and has that been, is the only amendment, I did send an email about this, but is the only amendments as shown in yellow?
That's correct, yeah.
So that does need to be put in. Do you have some wording there for that?
Oh, not really, only that or by direct debit, or by arranged direct debit. Or it doesn't need to be anything particularly.
Arranged and approved? Only I say approved in that, you know, they've got to keep up with the payments, you know what I mean? So maybe arranged and approved direct debit.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think it just needs to be because that facility is available to ratepayers. I think it needs to be in the policy.
Councillor Brenny and Church, are you happy with that
Yes.
extension to number 9?
Do we need to mention monthly?
Sorry, excuse
Do we need to mention monthly?
No.
Just-
Because, if I may, Mayor, I believe that the facility is available, whatever arrangement the ratepayer makes makes with council, so it can be a weekly, fortnightly, monthly deduction.
Thank you.
Okay, no further comment. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Sorry, Councillor Brownling, did you have something you wanted to add?
On page 104, and I'm not sure if this is, but where it says financial year for each non-vacant,
Whereabouts are you?
104,
waste.
last paragraph.
waste collection and service
yes.
charges.
Yeah.
It's all premises or each premise, is it? Is that the correct terminology? It's just, so each financial year of each non-vacant premises, which is, it's meant to be premise, I think,
Yeah.
being singular.
So you just want the S taken off premise?
Yep. And that's the same through, there's 3 more spots, the waste management transfer station service charges and the medical service charges.
Okay. So we'll drop an S there, Councillor Brini and Churchill, is that okay?
I need to see the Oxford Dictionary on that one.
Yes, I agree.
I
Mr.
think-
Breen,
I think the word is
And
premises.
with me bringing it up, yeah, probably do.
I think the word is premises.
Yeah,
It's singular.
yes, it is.
Okay, so you want to retain the S? Retention of S. Okay, we'll retain the S. Any further comment?
Subject to verification by Oxford Dictionary.
We can make minor amendments without coming back to us, so that's okay. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's Unanimous.
Excuse me, please.
Okay, item 8.3, which is rates revaluation. So just at this point, just want to note that council received 2, 3, 4.5 pages of information. 2, 3, 4.5 pages on the back to back of information. After the agenda came out, when did we receive this?
When did this go? This would have gone out
Today?
today, this morning.
Today. So this will be uploaded as a late attachment or something, and the date
Yep.
into the agenda that's online. So, could I have a motion, please?
That council considers waiving the rates difference in this instance due to the cost of retrieval, or alternatively only levy rate differences greater than $10.
Councillor Simons, are you moving to discuss? Because that's two options there, we can't have both, so would you like to move to discuss?
Yes, I'll move to discuss first up.
Councillor Breeny, to second.
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Allen?
Oh, I was just going to second the, sorry.
Oh, okay, so Councillor Simons and Councillor Breeny seconded, so it's open for, oh no, put the motion, to discuss. Animals, I'm shocking tonight. Thank you, so it's open for discussion. I'm struggling with this because the information we received so late today. I left home at 8:15 this morning. Can't read this on the phone. I had a 20-minute break before coming back here this afternoon. I got here at 4:30. I was in either driving, at school presentations, at a morning tea, at a meeting, and I have not had time to consider such a significant matter, particularly with the financial, situation here and the costs that's could potentially go on to ratepayers that we didn't know about at the time of setting the budget and so forth. I would like to know what the implications are if we don't make a decision on this matter today.
Me too.
Yeah, that's good.
So the implications are probably just delays the process, but apart from that, I think it's quite possible to delay it without repercussion.
So there's no negative repercussion on administration,
No.
nothing on section 137, 132s or 337 certificates?
332s.
No, 137, 33. Sorry, 132 and 337
Yeah,
certificate, the
132s
sales.
and 337s. I guess if you're thinking about that for 337, you would be getting, depending on how we take the action on here, that could affect those figures slightly.
No, I mean the issuing of those documents is not going to have any impact.
I think we could still issue those documents, 132s and 337s. I'm just thinking now about the aspect of, does it actually vary the financial concerns with it? And that could well be the case.
But you don't know.
No, it's not a question I anticipated.
Okay, so I'm just going to say my personal position on this is it requires more thought. The implications are there. I don't know the answer to the question in respect to how that could in fact impact on property sales or issuing of those documents or on the administration of council. But I wouldn't have thought there would have been a lot happening. Well, we're going to close down in a couple of days and we're coming back in the new year. I'm happy to call a special meeting when council comes back. I would rather do that than, rather than wait till the end of January. I'd rather call a special meeting and have time to properly consider this matter than to rush into it today. Sorry, I'm not trying to convince anyone here, but that's just how I feel. Yeah. Councillor Churchill.
Mayor Wisby, I totally agree with you. I've had a bit of time today to look through this and actually make that decision. I would think that, as you've alluded to, we've got a staff holiday period coming up, so we're not going to lose the full, even though it's 6 weeks to our next council meeting, even if it had to go that far. But if I would have no objection, as much as I don't like special meetings because they cut into my time, but I would have no objection to deferring this to a special meeting or to the next council meeting, whatever is compliant.
Through the chair. So, Councillor Churchill, you had a good chance to have a look at it. What other questions do you have specifically on it?
No, I have no other specific questions because I had a look at all options, and at the end of the day I wasn't convinced that any of the options, that I could pick an option that was definite in my mind that is the one that we should take.
Okay. I was just hoping to be able to answer those questions possibly for you, but obviously not. That's okay.
Okay. Councillor Brenny?
Given that there's been copious discussion on this on 2 other occasions, I think, with councils and with advice, we have legal advice as to what certain actions would imply and the ramifications of those. The financial cost of the scenarios of doing nothing or taking action up to a certain amount of, say, all rate anomalies over $10 are supplementary followed up, are listed here. And like the legal advice, it's pretty grey area because the actual cost nobody knows whether or not the costs are going to be greater or lesser than what we've been told. Insofar as some of the issues are, you don't know how much time it's going to take for people to sort out issues that may be raised without us being knowing about it. There's a considerable amount of time being involved, and the amount of money in the worst case scenario that is lost in the vicinity of $40,000+, plus the loss of having to pay. I think there was the matter of fire levy was raised of a similar amount, 30,000 or something. It's a considerable amount, but then you have the issue of if you go into it and have to chase up the cost, you're going to be up for $20,000 just to try to chase it in one instance, 18,000 in another instance, and in retrospect we have a legal advice that says if we do either of those options or do nothing, it doesn't prevent a person who may object to the way that we've done it bringing council to have to answer for what we've done. This is a complicated issue, and I would like to be very clear on the thing that I would prefer to be much clearer on is not so much the cost or the losses, but this is sort of a silly thing. I'd like to be very clear on the legal aspects of it, because if somebody does pick this up and point to us and say, no, you can't do this, you've got to do this a certain way, we're back to square one and we have to do a certain thing that's going to cost us. I'd like to know those implications before I vote on one option or another. Thank you.
Councillor Pike?
Through you, Mayor, to the General Manager. General Manager, in that report there, I noted the scenario you gave us for the staff and how many were to be done. What do you think of it? When would a time frame be available to set somebody? Would we need to hire somebody to do this if we went down that road?
Through the chair, Councillor Pike, it's actually going to be quite a difficult issue. We've got staff shortages anyway, and I think it's going to be quite difficult to accommodate it. As Councillor Breeny's referred to, some of the costs are unknown. My point of view is that the preferred option is to waive the amount. I think the original legal advice that we got to that effect said that we were able to do that. I guess I tempered that with the fact that the legal advice is that there's been no precedent set. So we're in pioneer territory and it is difficult to get that definitive legal position.
Thank you. Question to you, Mayor. So I wonder what would a special meeting do, calling a special meeting, accomplish for us?
Yeah, so my concern is when this went out to us on last week, so it had to come up to us on the Thursday, there was no budget implications shown at all. Okay, so what was put to us, there was nothing shown. I then on Sunday sent an email to the General Manager, I think it was Sunday, asking for those budget implications because I knew there was budget implications because I knew there was around over $30,000 had to be paid to Tas Fire, regardless if we've got the money in it or not. Okay, so I knew there was a budget implication and that implication wasn't listed in the document. So therefore I requested an information and it was today that we got new information and quite different information in respect to what we were told on the day of the workshop, which was the 3rd of December, which wasn't that long ago. So what we heard on the 3rd of December is quite different to what we received today on the day of the meeting. So I think it is, what was the word, pioneering area or whatever we are, wherever we are, I think
Yes,
we need to be
trailblazing.
cautious.
Yes, no, yes,
Yeah.
I'm not doubting, I'm just
Yeah, because
trying to figure out.
it just keeps changing,
Yes.
and I personally think it's worthy of being cautious. Councillor Arnold, did you want to
Yes.
say?
No,
something?
I, like Councillor Churchill, had the opportunity to have a read of the report, right early today, it was here. I think this new report is particularly good. It does set out council's options and the budget implications. But I agree with you, Mayor, I believe it is either this matter's deferred to the January meeting or to a special meeting if it's deemed too urgent to wait until the end of January. And and this report should be presented in an agenda so the community can see it's a transparent process.
Councillor Browning?
Through the Mayor, and I didn't have time to read it today either because I had so much on in Swansea with commitments, and so, yeah, I think what everyone's saying is valid and we need to go down that path.
Do anyone know why we've got wind going through our
No, I was just wondering
microphones?
the same thing.
Oh, is it the wind of the... You want to turn the fan down a little bit? No, thank you. Just drop the temperature.
No more air than usual.
Okay, can I have a motion, Councillor Arnold?
Yes. That council defers agenda item 8.3 to the January meeting.
Oh, sorry, we better
Yes,
wait.
we'll wait till
Sorry.
Ms Garrett comes back, yes. Okay, so I'll start again, Ms Garrett. That council defers agenda item 8.3 to the January meeting or to a special meeting of council earlier in the month if the matter is deemed too urgent to wait until the 28th of January.
Yeah.
It just gives us two options, Mayor.
It does, yeah, and I think we need both. I'm happy to call a special for it, but I just,
So we just need to get some advice around whether we have to deal with it earlier rather
Correct.
than later.
Yep.
Yep, that's okay.
with holding back administration, I'm happy to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry?
2020.
Just put 8.3 to the January 2020
The
meeting.
January 2020 meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mayor, through the chair, I'm wondering if the image could be enlarged just a little, please.
No, we can move you closer to the
I'll get,
screen,
no,
or
I'll
you
get,
want my
I'll
glasses?
get better glasses. Yeah.
Someone to second that, please. Councillor Simons?
think if I may, I'd prefer to have, if the matter, what I said, if the matter is deemed too urgent, to wait until the 28th. To wait. So we need to start again. The council defers agenda item 8.3 to the January meeting, or a special meeting of council earlier in the month if the matter is deemed too urgent to wait until the 28th of January.
Do you want to repeat that again?
Sorry, I'm like councillor Bruni, I'm struggling to read that.
Oh.
So the council defers agenda item 8.3 to the January meeting.
Yeah.
Right. Or a special meeting of council earlier in the month.
Wait, yeah, or a special meeting of council earlier in the month.
If the matter is deemed too urgent to wait until the 28th of January. So we need, the general manager
Wait
needs to make
until-
that call, I think.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so that says move councillor Arnold, seconded councillor Tom, that council defers agenda item 8.3 to the January meeting or to a special meeting of council earlier in the month if the matter is deemed too urgent to wait until the 28th of January.
If the 28th of January is in fact the meeting
It
date.
is, it is,
Right, okay.
And 2020, do you want 2020
Yes,
there?
2020, yes.
No, I think she just wants it there.
Both, but in both,
Both? You
in
want
both
both?
areas. It needs to be in both areas, yep.
Through the chair, do we need to indicate that the general manager is responsible for notifying if it's too urgent?
I think that's that, if I may, Mayor, I think that's just a given.
I think it is a
Okay.
given.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Arnold, Councillor Simons, you're happy with that wording?
Yep.
I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. So that information will be included in the agenda as a late addition. 8.4, re-engagement of internal audit panel. Could I have a motion, please? Councillor Arnold.
The council continue with the current arrangement with Mr Mike Derbyshire and Mr Kane Ingham and sign a deed of agreement for the next 12 months.
Somebody to second, councillor Churchill. Open for discussion. Councillor Churchill.
Through the Mayor to General Manager, has Mike Derbyshire indicated that he is interested in doing another year?
Mike Derbyshire has indicated that he's willing to progress for another year, to my understanding of it.
Yes, okay. And I think it is worthy of noting, not that this is to detract from the information given, but Kane Ingham frequently finds it impractical for him to actually be here in person. So I've been through 4 of these meetings now and he's only actually been physically in attendance once. I think the public, I think everyone should know that at least, and I'm not detracting from his information. I just think that it's probably inconsistent with the performance that we should expect. That's my only points that I'd like to raise.
Thanks, councillor Churchill. So, when was the last time we received any minutes from this audit panel? You know, the minutes would actually show that to us. That's the only way we would know as a standard, like the councillors other than the members. It seems to be a long time since I've seen anything. Does anybody recall?
That's a good point.
I've attended 2 meetings. I believe we asked for the minutes to go forward. I'll chase that through and make sure they get issued.
So, in relation to councillor Churchill's comment, maybe a 12-month request is too long if that is the case. Councillor Arnold, do you have you're a member, do you have any concern if somebody's not able to attend the meeting and have a face-to-face discussion?
No, I think that I think from memory the terms of reference allowed for teleconference facilities anyway. I'd have to check that. but we can't do it for less than 12 months under the, what are they called? The audit panel orders. It has to be a minimum of 12 months. I think really, personally, the only thing to do is perhaps raise it with Mr. Ingham, but I'm comfortable. I'm actually quite comfortable with him phoning in because, as I say, I believe the facility is there within the terms of reference.
Yeah.
It might be something that the chairman of the audit panel needs to take up.
Yes, that's the point.
Okay, okay, and probably the only other thing I had noted here was that, so what I had written was that council continue with the current engagement of Mike Derbyshire and Kane Ingham as independent members on the GSBC audit panel, and authorises the general manager to sign a deed of agreement on the same terms as are currently in place for a further 12-month term to the 31st of 12th, 2020. That's what I had written, you know, there. I don't know if you want to expand to make it clear that they're, you know, their role as the independents.
I'm happy to have the current engagement or continue with the, I think current arrangement's fine, and just to insert as independent members
Yeah.
after their names.
And sign a deed of agreement, does that need to authorise the GM or direct the GM, or is?
It just happens. Councils, again, I think it's a given.
Okay.
Councils, the motion says, and sign a deed of agreement.
Yeah, okay, if you're happy with that.
So that would then become, I guess, operational for the general manager to process.
The current arrangement in respect to financial and amount of meetings, yeah. That's what you're referring to there, the financial implications on council from a budgetary implication.
I'm sorry, I missed.
So you're referring to the current arrangement as the amount of meetings required for them to attend and also the cost to council? Yep. All right. Any further comment? No? Okay, we'll put them, so what is the motion, sorry? Okay, so I just got to check on councillor Church, were you okay
Yes.
with independent members there?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, put the motion, all those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. 8.5, Building Better Regions Grant Funding Options. Motion, please. Councillor Brenny.
I move that council support applying for $250,000 from the Building Better Regions Fund to strategically develop the Triabunna Wharf, with Parks and Wildlife Services and Glamorgan Spring Bay Council matching those funds with $200,000 and $50,000 respectively. That council support applying for $25,000 from the Building Better Regions Fund to develop a business case and development application for a mountain bike trail from Kellervie to Orford, with Sorrel Council and Glamorgan Spring Bay Council matching those funds equally, both contributing $12,500 each. That council support applying for $20,000 from the Better Building Regions Fund to commission an economic development plan and prospectus for Glamorgan Spring Bay Council, with council matching that with a $20,000 contribution.
Somebody to second that, please. Councillor Churchill. Open for discussion. Oh. Oh, sorry, I was doing numbers, sorry. Councillor Churchill.
Process. I just think it needs to be pointed out there in the first part there that's for the wharf development, that the $50,000 to be contributed by council, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, can be given in kind as in work performed. I think that,
Through the chair, no, it can't actually. It needs to be financial contribution in kind, does not apply.
so that's changed since our original information, has it? Sorry, I've missed that.
No, we've only just been advised of that. So the original,
It's in the document, actually.
the original thing that came through from Parks was they said 50K was okay in kind, combo in kind and cash, but now it's 50K
50K in cash. Okay, thank you.
for the
Clarifying that.
match.
Mhm.
So when I look at this, I look at $590,000 worth of works, and we would be contributing 82,500 if we were successful. And I think it's a $500,000 extra works, not out of our ratepayers' pocket. It's pretty good bang for buck if we are successful. And I think all of these projects are of benefit to the region, personally. Councillor Brenny?
In support of my motion, I agree entirely. The output, the total budget implication of 82,500 is in my opinion, excellent return for the projects that will be delivered. All of those applications have to go through the stringent requirements of applications, so the efficacy of whether or not it's a good project or not will be dealt with in that issue. And I'm sure that given council's requirement to make sure that any money we expend of ratepayer funds, community funds, is done so properly, I think that'll be answered in that. Thank you.
Further comment? Councillor White?
Excuse me, please, my voice is bad tonight. I was really excited actually when I read this as well. I'm speaking in favour of this, the business case, and when we had the workshop with Sorrel Council, they were very excited, and there is an opportunity for us now to work with them on this bike trail, which I think would be really important for our area and the youth here. But the other thing that excites me is the Glamorgan Spring Bay Council Economic Development Plan and Prospectus to grow our area. I think that's a really valuable thing if we can get some funding for that. Towards that, that's really a plan that I would work hard on. So it has my total support.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Item 8.6, training wall lease. Could I have a motion, please? Discuss.
I'll second it.
Councillor Brenny. Open for discussion.
Again, if I may, Mayor, again, with what we were presented with on Thursday and then received today the full lease, and having to try and read all of this, it makes it very hard to make a decision with regards to the training wall lease at the Pross River mouth.
Sorry,
For
can
me.
can I come in here and there was additions here also, so when was this information provided?
8:40 a.m. this morning.
8:40 a.m. this morning. So this is the lease document, which is 31 pages. And also, sorry, page 2 of the letter. I too have some, I haven't had time to read the lease in full either, and obviously not, I haven't. And the principle of doing a training wall lease, I don't have a problem with doing a training wall lease at all, because it's something that needs to be done to identify the area and the risks associated with that area. But yeah, I understand your concerns, and because I haven't read that lease document either, and also I haven't fully understood the implications of the letter numbers, and that's what makes me more nervous than the lease, is that attachment letter, of which we got page 2. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that,
I move, if I may, Mayor, to, oh, sorry.
well,
no.
let other people have a discussion,
Yes.
thank you. Councillor Arnold?
Yes, Mayor, like you, I have concerns around this because until 8:40 a.m. this morning, I hadn't seen the lease. And I am particularly concerned about the fact that the lease did not appear in our open council agenda. It therefore was not available to the community to review, to see what council might be actually committing them to. So I really fail to see, and now having received the second page of this, I'm particularly concerned about the item C at the top of page 2 in relation to that letter from Parks and Wildlife. So as an elected member, I just fail to see how I can reasonably support this motion, or a motion, in relation to this, when the initial report in the agenda was not complete.
You've got a comment?
I concur.
Yeah, I concur, it's the same.
Are we ready for a motion, Deputy Mayor Woods?
Yes, I will defer, I'll move to defer 8.6 training wall lease Prosser River Mouth Advisory Group to the January, a future meeting, January?
Well, I only say a future meeting because if we have a special meeting and this is deemed
Yeah.
urgent, then you could actually slot it back,
Yes.
that's all.
Much, well, pretty much the same. I would copy and paste the other, the other motion, if I may.
I moved to copy and paste, we've done that before. Are you able to copy and paste?
Never done it before in my life.
We've got someone more competent than you.
And to clarify there, may I ask,
Yeah, just wait for it to get up.
You've got to get a second.
oh, yes, it was a motion, sorry.
Through the mayor while we're waiting, is
No, we can't,
we can't ask a question
No.
with relation to?
no.
Thank you.
When you get a second, you may. When there is a second to put down, you may.
Okay.
So the motion is that council defers agenda 8.6 to the January 2020 meeting or to a special meeting of council earlier in the month if the matter is deemed too urgent to wait until the 28th of January 2020.
Okay, someone to second that, please. Councillor Brini. Open for discussion, Councillor Brini.
I was simply going to ask if these lease agreements are available to the public.
I think that's a little bit questionable too, as to whether or not they can be, or whether or not they need to be amended. So that's something that will need to be checked by the General Manager.
On that point, it seems to be strange that I presume that it's a matter of the residents have to trust council in relation to conditions of a lease, and if the public don't have privy to it, which I believe is the stance of Parks and Wildlife, they don't like. For example, there was an instance where we were notified in an S24 committee in relation to leases where Parks preferred for lease agreements not to be made public because of various reasons, the fact that we have a lease is a lease, but the arrangements between the leasee and the leaseor were confidential.
Well, it'd have to be legally privileged, so that can be determined. You know what I mean? We can all want stuff, whether or not we can legally able to do it, it could be another matter. But yes, that'll definitely need to be checked before it's made a public document. All
Yes.
good, put that motion, all those in favour to defer? It's unanimous, thank you. Okay, 8.7, the Prosser River mouth spit fencing and signage proposals. So, sorry, there's a bit here. The General Manager sent out, and I've got it stapled in here, in red, an amendment. You can see that amendment. The red piece, which was basically the recommendation has been received from the Prosser River Mouth Advisory Group, and the item is tabled below. The General Manager sought to determine if a quorum was present when these S24 motions were voted on. As the terms of reference don't state a specific number of members, and it appears that there is no comment made in regards to replacing members if they resign, it would seem the total number of members was 12 at the time these motions were moved on. The terms of reference state a quorum is half the number of members, in brackets, not the more regular half plus one, so it appears a quorum was in effect. So that was the first amendment in respect, confirming there was a quorum. The other amendment, the other information received today was from, sent by Rosemary Wood, who is a member of the Cross River Advisory Group, and it's from Mark Holdsworth, a project manager, in respect to, I would call it qualified advice in relation to the plan put forward by Rosemary Wood at the Section 24 meeting and supplied to council within those minutes and part of this motion, if that all makes sense. The motion, the recommendation didn't alter from that original recommendation. So, motion, Councillor Churchill?
The council endorses placing the Prosser River Mouth Master Plan Advisory Group Section 24 Committee's proposed plan in relation to the Orford Spit Lagoon and nearby recreational beach area out for public consultation by the 10th of January 2020 until 7th of February 2020. Following consultation, council will consider feedback and make a decision at the ordinary meeting of council.
At an ordinary meeting.
And,
of council.
sorry, and
No, that's okay.
ordinary meeting
Yeah.
of council.
But just that the sort of
Yes.
makes you think of a specific date. Somebody to second that motion? Councillor Browning? Open for discussion. Councillor Breeny?
This motion was supported. The original motion that was put at the S24 committee meeting to bring this recommendation to council was supported by me at the advisory group meeting for one single simple reason. The words "out for public consultation." Whether there are any other implications drawn from this motion is entirely irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. My support of the motion originally was to ensure that whatever we were looking at the Prosser River Advisory Group, is made public and we receive public feedback. We are not here making a decision to abide by it. We're not making by the plan that was presented. That plan was just presented as a part of a plan of the advisory group master plan. And it doesn't cover all of the area. It doesn't cover any of the issues other than a bit of fencing and some other issues. But I'm very interested in finding out what the public consultation is, because there's feedback that there are interest groups who are putting forward, issues and misleading information, etc., all the usual scuttlebutt that you hear about in relation to things. But once the advisory group and council receive information back from the public consultation, it'll be up to council then to look at that information and make a judgment based on that. And that will only go to a certain part of, a certain section of the Prosser River Master Plan. It certainly won't be an issue that'll be dealt with separately. It must not be, because this is a requirement of the Prosser River Group, not of a separate requirement to talk about fencing.
Sorry, you lost me in that last bit. I don't understand what you mean.
The plan that was put forward shows predominantly fencing requirements.
Yep.
It doesn't show anything else in relation to the master plan. For instance, plans by, or suggestions by MAST in relation to boat ramps, additional car parking, additional leases and
So all you-
licences, etc.
So all you're saying is that council is considering this part of the plan basically in respect to fencing and signage as per the motion.
No, council is looking at, this motion is looking at putting this out to public consultation.
Council is considering putting it out to public
And
consultation.
council is looking at nothing else.
Yeah,
Simple. As long as that is made clear, then I think,
the motion is, isn't it?
yeah, I hope so.
Yep. Comment, councillor Churchill?
Motion. I'd just like to say that to me it would seem like part of a transparent process that this needs to go out to public consultation. I'm sure that was always the plan of the Section 24 committee. I don't think there's anything, any implication in any of this that it wouldn't go out for public consultation. And I would just like to hope that we can get to a solution that provides protection for the birds in the long run and amenity for the people who live in the region, so that everyone can work and operate together. Let's see what the public consultation period brings. Thank you.
Any further comment, councillor Browning?
Through the Mayor, I agree with what Councillor Churchill just said, and it was interesting to go to the sites that were in that email to see what they're doing in Western Australia as far as looking after them, which, could be a way forward for us to make it usable for both recreational users and to protect the birds, so.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you. Mayor, I found the minutes of the Section 24 committee particularly hard to understand. It was the way they were set out in terms of the motions and using the general principles of a quorum, and I note the General Manager's comments here, but using the general principles of a quorum, I'm not totally clear that there was a quorum at the meeting at the time this was put. I will always support documents going out to public consultation, but based on the fact that I'm not fully aware or fully convinced that there was a quorum at the Section 24 meeting, I will vote against this.
so just on that, on the day of that meeting, I was in the car park and I contacted the local government division, spoke to a lady starting with Di, or not Debbie, but a lady starting with D, who confirmed as I pulled up that, because I asked about the local government meeting procedures and because of, the matter of the half.
Plus one, yep.
And, the matter that terms of reference as endorsed by council was half, not half plus one.
Yep, yep.
And is that contrary to the local government meeting procedures? And she advised that the local government meeting procedures do not apply to Section 24 committees and that the term, full stop, and the fact that council endorsed the terms of reference at half.
But if I may, it's half the membership. Now, it doesn't matter whether that, at the time the terms of reference were put in place. So it doesn't matter whether there's been 1, 2, 3, whatever, resigned. It is half the membership as listed in the terms of reference. And I think that is the real issue, because it's not particularly clear in the terms of reference how many people are actually those members. That's where I have some confusion. It's like when, if you have I can only use the analogy of a council, you have 2 councillors resign. When it comes to absolute majority, it will, and in an 8-member council, you have 2 councillors resign. If you come to an absolute majority question, the absolute majority will always be 5, until, even though those councillors have resigned.
Yeah, that's under the local, that's under meeting procedures though, not
Yeah.
under, which
But-
we don't
but
abide by.
The terms of reference of the section 24 says half of the membership, and the membership is listed there in the thing. It doesn't include, it does not say anything about people resigning, so, but that's okay, that's
Yep.
fine.
All right, any further comment? No? Okay, I will put the motion to put this matter out for community consultation. All those in favour? Councillor Breeny, Browning, Pike, Wisby, Churchill, Simons, Deputy Mayor Woods. Against, Councillor Arnold. Motion's carried. Thank you. Sorry, can I just say, thank you to, Rosemary Wood for all your effort in producing all that documentation, all at your own cost. Thank you. Item 8.8, again, information came through late. It's the plan. Did that come through today? The plan
Couple
came
of days
through.
ago.
Okay, so I was finding it very hard to work out where these walks were, but now I've got the plan, I can work it out. So can I have a motion, please? Anybody? Councillor Breeny?
Council approves in principle the proposed Bicheno Destination Action Plan Group and Bicheno Community Development Association plan for Walk 4 and 5 within the Bicheno Township.
Going to second. Councillor Churchill. Open for discussion. Councillor Breeny?
There's just one minor thing that I just needed clarification on through you, Mayor. Question to the General Manager. In the paragraph commencing DAP and BCDA, halfway down the page, groups will be undertaking through the grant allocation the signage, purchase and installation. Now, the following piece interests me, that and request if council could assist by purchasing the required materials and charge back the BCDA for acquitting the grant requirements. I just wondered whether council purchasing materials and asking for a recoup is standard practice. Is it, or is it just the use of the GST or the whatever?
Questions to you.
Councillor Breeny, just reading through that, I think this is not a common practice. I think it would be a case of either they ask for some assistance or they purchase it themselves. So they could ask for a small community grant in regards to this, or they could simply purchase that themselves.
Either way, there's no budget implications to council.
Apart from the small community grants aspect.
Yes.
Where's that?
It's
That's-
not listed there.
Well, are they asking for one?
No.
I'm not aware. No, I don't believe they are, but I'm suggesting that's a way forward to cover it.
I have it says we are preparing final costings for these walks for post and signage icons. We expect the cost of these will be covered by a grant. Is it not a little bit wishy-washy? We expect, you know,
From the
Like-
community bank, the Bendigo Bank.
no. We expect the cost of these will be covered by a grant, like, and if they're not, then what?
It won't go ahead.
I don't think it goes ahead, yeah. I think that's,
Is it though? Well, because,
Which we have been given, though, implies that they already have it, doesn't it?
yeah, I think the community bank's committed to it.
but it looks to me that the costings haven't been done,
Right.
and therefore we don't have a solid business plan here or a case to deal with. That was my first read of it. And also that recommendation or the motion surely would have to be subject to any approvals required, so planning approvals as to the location of signs. I mean, you also want signs that that meet the Australian standards. So I personally don't know enough about this, or the report doesn't give me enough of the answers in respect to Australian standards, in respect to the costings of the project. And in the event that there is insufficient funds, I just thought we would have got some sort of a business plan, or not a one-pager, you know, detailing the costs and
What, Mayor, why are we interested in the costs? It's no cost to us.
well, isn't it?
No?
Well, we don't really. It's on our land. We are responsible through insurance. Okay, so it's not
Yeah, I
just
see what you mean,
Australian
yes.
standards. If the path's not built to the standard required, and we will be the ongoing people that are required for insurance purposes and maintenance of these. So there is an ongoing cost to ratepayers.
Hmm. You've been
And also the planning side of it, sorry, in respect to signage, location of signage and adhering to the signage rules under the planning scheme would have to be considered, and I assume that the cost of that, they're asking for that not to be charged, so that's something that does fit under our rules, our policy anyway, that they can request those sort of fees to be reduced. Yeah, so anyway, I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just sort of saying,
Just through the Mayor, what I understand, and possibly Councillor Simons may be able to enlighten me, but what I understand is that the works they're undertaking involve information signage that's already been placed on several of the walks. And it may well be that they already have planning approval for it, I don't know. But that needs to be looked at by planning department.
we've got a planner here now, you could ask
And-
that question.
And maybe it's simply for posts and sign icons, which they have, is all that's required. We'd probably want to know whether or not they require a DA, that's for sure.
Yeah, through the mayor, I believe they would need a DA. And consent from the landowners, which would be the Crown land, I would say, in most of those areas.
I would expect that the recommendation I've made is for in principle support, so I need to know how in principle support would affect a DA, especially on Crown land. Highway reserve, things like that. It's going up one of the...
Through the mayor, I don't think it would affect a DA, council giving in principle support to a potential project. I guess the in principle support changes to more concrete support once the DA is lodged.
But the question here, are we authorising a DA to be lodged? Is that what this is for? I don't know what this is for. What is this for? Sorry, Councillor Pike, I'm coming to you this very minute. To you now.
I was going to offer you perhaps an answer. I don't know. When I read this, it was very clear to me what they were asking for in principle. They are looking at, this to me in plain English, they're looking at going to the grants for the Community Bendigo Bank, they may ask us, in principle, first up, to buy some of these materials, but we can acquit those costs back from their allocation. But none of this will happen. Commencement of the work is dependent on any relevant approvals, as Robin has just said, and confirmation of any location. So all of that process will happen.
Confirmation of any location of what?
Confirmation of the roads and everything, and so on and so forth. That's what it's got here. All I read was that they want an approval from us in principle so they can start a plan. That's what how I read that.
How I read it.
To start producing a plan.
Yes, to show you, like, commencement of the work is dependent on any relevant approvals and confirmation. They've given you a map here, or given us a map here, sorry, Mayor. But how I read it was, if we approve it in principle, then it allows them to go forward and start planning it, apply for the grant. If it doesn't get the grant, I doubt it'll go ahead.
So in planning it, does it mean they can build it?
No, that's not what I read from
That's
here.
what I read from it.
Oh, well, I didn't read that. I'm sorry.
And if we can read two different things,
Okay.
because what I read from that is basically we're giving our in-principle support for them to go and build Walk 4 and 5. If they get the money from the bank and whatever else, they can go and build Walk 4 and 5.
If I may, yeah, I think the critical word is it's in principle support for the proposed Vision O destination plan for Walk 4 and 5, as Councillor Pike said.
Yeah.
It only says that they're only asking for council's in principle support for it so they can proceed to plan for it. That's how I read it.
I read it too.
Okay. So it's not asking for permission for us to sign a DA.
Sorry?
It's not asking for any of that.
Only asking for, as I said, our in principle support so that they can proceed to plan for it. A bit like Councillor Bruni's community consultation process, I think.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, I think we're dealing with a community here who's clearly done this on a couple of occasions before, and I think the words that stand out to me are in principle. So whatever progresses from here, if our planner says that it must come back to a DA, then it'll come back through that process. If they're requiring any financial input from council, that'll come back through council. I don't think in giving
No.
in principle support, we are.
But in principle support for what though? And that's what's not written here. You need to clarify what the in principle support is for what.
Well, we
Is
can-
it, if we could clarify that, it'd be clear.
So
Could I-
just want the words added into the motion
Yep.
for.
Is it to prepare a plan?
Could
thought
I
the
suggest
people
that
had one.
the recommendation, the motion reads, I'll just try to follow it as closely as I can. Council approves in principle the development of the in principle, the proposed Bicheno Destination Action Plan Group and Bicheno Community Development Association
It's already
plan.
It's already there. It's already written there. If you,
But they've got a plan. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Here is their plan. So they've already produced a plan.
Yeah, we're approving it though. We haven't approved this before. I haven't seen it.
no,
So if we approve this plan,
Yep.
what's the purpose of the motion?
The motion is to approve the alignment of them, where they are, what roads they go up, where they go from, to, etc. And they're called walks 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 or whatever. We're doing nothing in this motion to approve any building, signage or whatever. The fact that they are, that what they do is put posts and signs up, it would definitely be subject to a DA because they're putting structures in council property. But we're giving an in-principle support for the alignment, which includes going on council property.
Right, so, yeah, so it's not the in-principle support to design a plan, because I've got the plan already.
Well, yeah, okay, well, how do you, I
So are you
defer to the general
authorising-
manager how we refer to people building on council property.
Are you authorising them to go build? Is that what you're doing? Subject to planning approval?
Subject to planning approval,
Are
maybe?
you authorising, and that's the two things, it's like, are you authorising them to go build
Yeah,
this,
is that-
subject to planning approval?
Yeah,
I think that's a brilliant idea.
yeah.
As long as I
Those
can
words
be
work.
assured by our planning advice that that is all that's required.
Through the Mayor, the owner consent would be part of it, so in principle, as support pending development application approval and owner consent.
Yeah,
which is
subject to
part
any
of the-
approvals required.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I had written here before I sat, like, now. That it needs to be subject to that.
Sounds good.
Could I have said that 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, would have helped.
Yeah, would help. No.
Okay, councillor Brandy and Churchill, subject to any approvals required?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, all good? Put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous. No, thank you. We'll come in earlier on the next one. 8.9, consent to lodge ADA cricket practice net Swansea. Additional information was received here, today, was it today? Okay, that needs to be noted. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Browning?
I move that council makes a decision to approve or,
No, no, no.
yeah, can
Move
move to
to
discuss.
Second, please. Bruni, councillor Bruni. All those in favour to discuss? Unanimous. Okay, discuss. Councillor Bruni.
When this matter was raised previously, council required for the cricket club to reassess their preferred location of the cricket nets.
Mhm.
As a result of that, the cricket club was approached to find out whether or not there were other locations which were more suitable to them and to all others.
Yep.
In relation to the nets. There were several other proposals put forward. They encroached on Little Athletics jump pit, which is an Australian standard jump pit that's being used widely. Just been installed, actually. It's quite good. It also, another location was outside of the other side of the cemetery, which is on church leased land. It was away from a power pole. It was inconvenient in relation to just about everything. And they decided that they would ask the football club, the Swansea Football Club, how they felt about the locations, and the football club said that they looked at all options and preferred to have it where it was originally placed, where
Yep.
the cricket club originally placed it.
So we've got that in this doc, the late edition. We've got all that written there.
My understanding is that they would prefer to lodge the development application in relation to the location of the nets where it was originally placed on the plan when it first came to council.
I note that that is a loss of 3 or 4 parking spots. So they referred to option 3, near the existing light pole closer to the sheds with the power box already attached. Loss of 3 or 4 parking spots.
The football club don't seem to be fazed by that at all. In fact, they thought it was a good location for it.
I mean, I'll go with it, but I just find it really strange. There's such limited parking up there to take away parks up there, especially for the older people that need to sit in their cars to be able to enjoy football, which is one of the things that the older people enjoy at Tribunna and Swansea is attending football, but they can't sit out in the cold in the middle of winter. They need to sit in their car and be able to see the football from their car. So it just seems weird to lose 3 or 4 car, really important car spots that are close to as close as you can get to the cafeteria. But the football club agree with that. Well, Councillor Browning?
Through the Mayor, and I also brought up about having nets that can be removed, but they seem to want fixed nets. There was an issue with the surface of the pitch, if that's what it's called, so.
Oh, you've been driven on or something?
Yeah, so,
Yeah. Everybody thought, through the Mayor, everybody assumed that it'd be a really great idea to have temporary nets that you could pull down and provide, during the football season and provide the car parking spaces. But the cricket club were adamant that where that has been tried before, what happens is the vehicles and others trash the surface of the wickets.
Okay. So this is for discussion. So we could put in the recommendation in the motion if you wish, that we encourage the club to make application or something, because they don't put their hand up for any assistance, but we could put in there that we encourage them to make application for the costs, like approve it and then put it up that we encourage them to make application through the small grants or something, because that's what that money's there for. So, any further comment? No?
Yeah, just a question. There is a line in here that says council had also offered to contribute $1,000 towards the project. So my question was when?
Only in conversation that they could.
It was in conversation.
Yes,
right, okay.
yeah. When it was last discussed at a meeting, it was a conversation that they could.
Okay,
We didn't
Cool.
offer to.
sure.
They'd need to make application, as you know. Yeah. Okay. Are we going towards motion now? Councillor Rennie?
I'll put a motion that council provides, are we just needing to provide, providing owner consent?
The council and endorses or something, yeah. The location of the map,
Yeah, the council
says shown.
provides owner consent and approves the location of the proposed nets as indicated on the...
No. I think it's, if I may, Mayor, I think it's only, Councillor Reddy, I think it's only that in this instance we're only giving
Oh, yes, of course.
councillor owner's consent
Owner's
to
consent.
lodge the DA.
To lodge the development application.
Yeah.
And notify the cricket club of the, and encourage the cricket club to
Make application.
to consider and make application for a community small grant.
Yeah, to assist with the costs.
To assist with the
Yep.
cost. Thank you.
Could we have invite rather than encourage?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't, well...
Invite's a better word.
We can't discuss that at the moment either, because the
Oh,
motion's
sorry.
just gone up.
Sorry.
Are you happy with the words? Somebody to second? Councillor Arnold?
Yes,
Oh, what was the end of the motion?
and makes an application and encourages the cricket club to consider
Application for a community small grant. Is it
a
community
community
small
small
grant?
grant. Yeah,
To assist with the cost,
With the project costs?
with the project cost, yes, thank you.
that's cool.
Good.
Yep, that's all good.
You're good. Do you want to make comment?
No,
You're
I'm
good?
good.
Okay, I'll put the motion, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Oh, yes. Would you like to shut the door? Yes. And we'll melt.
This might be interesting, might have to go that way, Deputy Mayor.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, Deputy Mayor Woods and Councillor Arnold have left as they declared an interest at 7:04. Okay, could I, item 8.10, additional funding for the Prosser Plains Raw Water Scheme, a recommendation on page 133, could I have a motion, please? Councillor Brini?
I move that council resolves to secure a loan for the amount of $600,000 from Tascorp to be used to pay the costs of completing stage 1 of the Prosser Plains Rural Water Scheme. For example, completion of the pumping station, which in turn will allow council to meet its obligations under the water supply agreement dated 8th of February 2019. And 2, the General Manager is directed and hereby authorised to take all reasonable and necessary steps to secure the loan referred in Recommendation 1 set out above, including without limitation making application to TasCorp for the loan and executing all relevant documents for and on behalf of Council, including applying the Common Seal of Council if required.
Somebody to second that, councillor Pike? Open for discussion. Councillor Brenny?
In support of the motion, it's clear, as per advice to and from the General Manager, legal and otherwise, that Council is liable for this payment, and that if Council cannot move forward with decisions, and without it, Council can't move forward on decisions or related issues until this contractual requirement has been met. I understand that that's the case. Stage 1 pipeline and pump station need to be commissioned, and this is part of that process. I'm bound, therefore, to support the recommendation and the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Pike?
I just wanted to echo, am I just allowed to say I totally support the comments as well and agree with everything following all of the feedback and briefings we've received.
Further?
Through the Mayor, agree that we need, if we don't, we're potentially at risk, I think, and we need to finish it and get water in the line.
Bear with me. Obviously, but I will support the motion. However, I think we need to be aware the feeling that I'm getting is that there may still be a little more money required to complete this project. I was just wondering if, through you, would the General Manager have any further update on those likely figures?
Yes, Councillor Churchill, the last piece of advice I got from the departing project manager and superintendent was that the cost to complete the project would be $601,000, and we've got $50,000 contingency. But having said that, I have some reservations about those figures, and I'm aware that with these projects, unknowns can become apparent as you move forward. So I think there's a possibility of a greater charge being levied, but at this point I really cannot advise that. I suspect it might be the case, but the information at hand indicates that at this point in time, we're okay to complete it. And that's what I can base my advice on.
And we haven't had any advice from the new manager who's taking over that role yet?
The advice that we've received is that Macquarie Franklin have worked with the previous project manager, are getting their head around the issue, and should be able to come back in the next week or so with some indicative figures. But with all of these aspects, they are at best estimates, and until all the bills come in we won't know. But at this point in time, that's the advice I've got.
Thank you.
So my concern there is that the General Manager can't incur a debt without Council's approval, and the risk is, well, ideally this would be commissioned by the end of January. We wouldn't be meeting as a council to the 28th of January. We'd have to call a special meeting, and basically the work can't be carried out. Once the bills stack up to this amount, no more money can be billed to council until we resolve to give any more money. So it could in fact hold up the works, and my concern is that potentially the 600 is not going to be enough, and if it's not enough, we shouldn't be incurring that debt without approval of the council.
I see.
So potentially in a moment, council And in this report, it says, $650, even though there's a $50,000 contingency sitting there, there does seem to be some uncertainty as to where it's all going to end. I obviously would prefer to be not borrowing a cent more, but under the circumstances, we are at risk if we don't complete, and we are at risk too if we slow it down at all because we haven't authorised enough money. So what I'm wondering is, should we be putting in a 0.3 there with an option of a further 50,000 if absolutely necessary? And that could be pulled out of council cash in an interim, on an interim basis, because I don't want to see the project slowed up as a consequence of the 600 being spent, and we need to spend an extra 20, and that 20 can't be spent because council haven't approved it. Councillor Churchill.
Are we able to, through the Mayor to the General Manager, are we able to borrow more? And if we do not use that, we don't draw down on it? Is that possible, or are we just making life difficult for ourselves?
Yes, I've already contacted TasCorp and made some initial inquiries about this because I thought it might be nice to have that option. The advice for it was that we would need to apply for any additional funding. There's a reasonable chance we would get the additional funding if, for instance, we chose to seek $700,000. If we drew down $650,000, we would not be obliged to use the $50,000 difference, and we would not be levied any charges or anything for it. So it could be prudent to put in for a greater amount, but bearing in mind that we would need to get that approval. So we would have to just submit a business case and probably ultimately get the Treasurer's approval for that extra amount, considering our current debt levels being of concern.
Oh, it's not of concern. It's at 37 to 38%, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is not of concern.
It's a very big concern to me.
Is it?
Well, I think whenever you run percentages up towards the 40%, you've got to start to be concerned. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Councillor Churchill then, and then Councillor Breen, then over to you, Councillor Simons.
Sorry, I just lost completely my train
Yeah,
of
me
thought
too.
watching you two.
So is this, just on your point, is the $600,000 that wasn't drawn down, is that already pre-approved with Treasury?
That is pre-approved.
Okay, so that would be easy to get?
Correct.
Okay, so basically, potentially it's another 50 on top of that may need to be borrowed.
Correct.
So for the purpose of getting that 600,000, easily that's sitting on the shelf already approved
Yes.
from the annual approval, and the extra 50 or 100 or whatever the number is will take longer, require a business plan and so forth. So from a cash flow perspective, we're better off to put one through at 600 and then a second one, which will require approval, as a separate item. Otherwise, we're going to be held up and have pressure on our cash flow because we'll have to use our cash flow in the meantime. So that's the reason for the two. But without our approval, that the General Manager can't even get into our cash flow.
Yep.
And I don't want that to happen because that will put us at risk.
So,
Councillor Breen, then Councillor.
so you're proposing to have a third point which indicates that council supports or approves the General Manager
To expend up to a certain amount of money in addition, if
50,000
required.
if required.
Yep,
Well, is it necessary to place an amount on that?
yes,
Okay.
there is.
Thank you. You don't trust him.
Go wild.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't mind the motion being altered in that, in regard to that, but I'm not sure about the wording of it, just to make sure it's.
Yeah,
it's,
and even if
okay.
it's just a drawdown on cash at the moment is better, and even not even borrow it, just draw down on cash to a figure of $100,000. In addition, we can sort out the loan later, because there is implications on borrowing money versus borrowing our cash money. There is implications there.
And you're saying that we can't wait until we get a better estimate of costs because of the delay
Well, next week we won't be here.
No, I understand, but the delay is going to cause an issue?
Potential, there is potential. We're not going to we haven't got a council meeting organised till the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
The general managers, we've got a new project manager, supervisor, what are they called? Superintendent.
Yeah.
We need to re-look at our costs and get another, opinion on total cost. What we don't want to have to do is potentially hold up the works at any time.
That's what I was wondering. Is the lack of funding going to hold up works?
Has the potential to.
Okay. Between now and end of January?
Well, the idea is that the thing is commissioned by the end of January. So in saying that it's commissioned, that means the bill has been incurred. If the incurring of the debt can only occur up to a certain value, can't go over. It's not the payment of the bill, it's the incurring of the debt.
The commissioning, really. Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Simons, then Councillor Pike.
Through you, Mayor, to Chris. The 50,000 contingency, where's that sit? Is that in the 600 or is that sitting aside?
That's currently sitting aside. That's within the existing fund base.
So
it's not part of that
So
601.
yes, so we've got 50 on top of the 600 at the moment. We're
Yes.
estimating 600, so we have a 50 contingency already.
Correct.
Okay.
Councillor Pike.
Seeking clarification again, Mayor, thank you, through you or the General Manager, either of you. The recommendation is to secure a loan for the amount of 600. That's all we're voting on in this recommendation, is that correct? That's it. You're not talking about the 50,000 being added in this recommendation?
Well, it could be. That's what we're discussing now.
All right. Well, I wouldn't support that if it was included. That's what I need to say.
The motions can be broken down also into 1, 2, a 1, 2, and then a like this one, and then an additional motion. I don't want to borrow any more money, and I don't think any of us want to borrow any more money, but I don't want to put ratepayers at risk by not having approved sufficient money to finish the project. That's my concern. And also noting here too that there is a projected loss year on year.
50,000.
In the vicinity of 50,000, dependent on use of other people using the line. There's restrictions there also. So, unlike what is written in the document at the end of, in the motion tracking document, the agreement, the motion of council in 2018 was the GM's authorised to proceed with stage 1 Prosser Plains Raw Water Scheme and council to enter into an agreement with Casal for delivery of raw water to Oakhampton Bay on full cost recovery basis. We haven't got a full cost recovery basis document, agreement. So, it is what it is. And I say, we need to move forward. Yes, Councillor Pike.
The $600,000 they will get our commission up and running by the end of January or whenever, won't it? It'll get the water flowing.
That's what we've just been talking about. We're waiting on the superintendent to provide us with a revised set of numbers. There is a potential that it will go greater than 600,000.
How and why then? Because for how many months now we've been discussing 600, we've done teleconferences, interviewed by the financial managers. Why has it now again blown out? Please, I'm sorry, somebody explain because I'm not understanding.
Well, I guess some of the reasons have, there's a myriad of reasons for starters. So anytime you run a construction project, it's based upon estimates, it's based upon the information to hand at the time. When you then go and do further surveys, for instance, you might find that the rock structure you're bolting into is not good enough, so you might have to excavate and build that up. You might have to remove rock. There's a myriad of reasons when you start working in the natural landscape. You've got all sorts of unknowns. As you progress through the work, the unknowns become knowns, and sometimes they've got implications. Keith, Councillor Pike, you would know probably from previous experience that we've had situations where we've talked about doing a piece of work and then they've excavated, they've hit granite, and then they've had to remove the granite. That is an unknown aspect that you look at, and then once you hit the granite, you realise, okay, we've got to excavate it. So there's always unknowns in these sorts of projects. We've had the time frame is likely to extend past the end of January. We've got estimates around mid-Feb to late Feb. Again, the new superintendent will be supplying better information. As you would also be aware, the previous project manager and superintendent has had to exit the project, and I guess he's done his best to come up with the figures, but effectively now we've got a new agency to come in and reassess it.
Councillor Pike, I'll just say though, on any other project too, one would expect a decent contingency number to take up for the hitting granite, as an example. And from my memory of when this was tabled originally, I think I was told there was no need for contingency, the numbers were right. And as we are all aware, we've got a pipeline, we've got to spend an extra 600 or something, and we have no dam, and that money was supposed to build a dam also. So clearly the numbers weren't great to start off with, and and there was insufficient contingency, and
So, okay, one more question, then I won't take too much more of your time. Do you think 650? I'm not asking you to promise it, but I'm asking you what your thoughts are. Are we going to be surprised again if we pass 650 and you're going to come back to council again?
Based upon conversations I've had, I think somewhere around the 650 will complete it, but based upon the quality of the advice that I've been given, I don't know how much confidence to have in that.
Okay, thank you, General Manager. At least you're honest. Thank you. Thanks for that. Thanks.
and that's the only reason I'm saying about a 0.3, because we don't need higher risk. That's the only reason. Councillor Simons?
I was just going to say, I think it'd be very prudent to put 0.3 in and have the ability for the General Manager to access some funding if he needs to.
Yeah, and I think at this point it'd just be cash out of our account, out of our surplus funds, because the 600 will come back in pretty quick because the money is approved sitting on the shelf. And we could draw down on cash at 50 and then sort out the borrowings of that later down the track. I just think it's, a wise thing to do. Okay, so Councillor Barini, can I have a little think about some words here?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. And you can too if you like.
I tried. I've been trying. Gave up.
That council endorses the General Manager to draw down an additional maximum amount of $50,000 from council cash in the event, on receipt of a report to council. In the event that the remaining remaining funds with the $600,000 additional loan is insufficient to complete the project.
It'll have to be, yes, that's right. That's what we've just discussed. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
You're not getting 100, you've got 50, you've got 600, you can have another 50. Do you like that, Councillor Brini, your motion?
Yes, that sounds perfect. Thank you. Sounds better than what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yes, let me just recover my pacemaker.
Yes.
It's gone wild. Literally.
Councillor, hold on, you can come back to Councillor
I'm
Pike.
fine.
You all right with that?
I'm fine with that.
Councillor Simons.
The Mayor, that doesn't exclude you from the contingency sum of $50,000 anywhere. You can access that without us having to mention.
That's remaining funds. That's within the remaining funds that we've already got sitting or approved to draw. plus the 600, then it'd be another 50 if absolutely necessary, and with a report to council justifying the need to spend.
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
yes, point 3.
you all good? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Thank you. Who not?
The missing councillors.
Yeah, but it's unanimous. Oh, yeah, sorry, no, we're not unanimous. We are Councillor Breeny, Browning, Pike, Wisby, Simons,
Churchill. Yes, they're all
Was carried.
the motions. 6.
Bring them in.
Yes, please. See you, everyone. See you, Colin.
Mass exodus.
Because we spent their money. They probably had their guns.
Oh,
Sorry, Chris.
oh, you've got to invite. It's hard to find.
Sorry. It's easier now. Yeah, the door open. Oh, Lord.
It was all those people.
My glasses fogged up and I walked in the door.
Okay, so now I'll tell you that 1 and 2 were approved, and number 3 was that council endorses the general manager to draw down an additional maximum amount of $50,000 from council cash on receipt of report to council in the event that the remaining funds over and above the plus the 600 is needed to finish the project.
Thank you.
Okay, we just don't want to hold anything up. We want it done and finished. Okay. 8:11. Could I have a motion to discuss?
I'll discuss. Oh,
I just
okay.
want to say a couple of things.
Oh, okay, yep, I'll move the motion to discuss.
Okay, councillor Simon, second. All those in favour to discuss? Unanimous. So I'll just say what I wanted to say. Is that okay? I just want to say that
You're asking our permission?
I know, but I've got stuff written here and I'm really tired now. That in accordance with so we've got that recommendation, but I just thought that in accordance with section 178 of the Local Government Act, council intends to transfer land as per the proposed centre care evolved housing 21 unit development on lot 30, 31 and 94 Spencer Street, Triabunna. Yeah, and that Centre Care Evolved Housing are to provide council with 4 serviced residential blocks on council land somewhere, I don't know what the word is, and that Centre Care will be obliged to pay council rates on the units, and that a community meeting will be held in Triabunna in January 2020 to answer questions and obtain feedback from community members.
Yes.
Okay, so it just sort of more listed it in the motion rather than the report, that's what council expects from this, because the recommendation was a little bit short and a little bit like we're not going to do the right thing potentially.
Okay.
So that's the reason for listing it a bit more. Did you get all that? Oh.
So that's, if I may, that's the motion that you would like to see moved?
Well, I'd just like it written up there for discussion, for
Okay.
consideration.
Okay,
Yeah, that you can consider it. Whether or not it sort of makes a bit more sense, a bit clearer to the community.
okay.
And just while we wait, so we have a meeting, we also put it out to the community. People can write back in and let us know their thoughts. I'm sort of more so talking to the people in the audience, and the and also a public meeting where you can come and ask questions, and yeah, so that's a community meeting, probably about the 8th of January, I think the date was. So it's early in the piece. Yeah, to be early in the piece, so you could yeah, come and ask questions and get the full understanding of what it's all about. And also, I did send an email about having this put,
Mayor,
a
Mayor,
map.
can I, before you go, Ms Garrett's writing that up as a motion, that's not what you
Oh,
intended?
No, can you just put it above the motion? Can you just set it above a little bit, just so we can consider those steps, because it was a lot for people to take in? Yeah. Yeah, a copy of the plan, so in this document, so people aren't scared of what, they don't get, you know, the wrong end of the stick here.
Sure.
And
I apologise, I sent that out this morning at 8:30ish, I think.
The brochure we got, was that the one you were just talking about that you sent out this morning? Is that when I read that?
There was a map and there was a brochure as well.
Yeah,
They were separate too.
But the brochure was quite good. That
No,
would be a
this
good
is the
thing to
brochure.
distribute into the community.
Oh, yeah, so that brochure also would be sent, a letterbox, put into all your letterboxes, like through the post office, about the community meeting. So that you're all well aware of it and you can come along.
Off my computer.
Is it fair to say it's probably only relevant to Tribunna? You're just saying a mail out in Tribunna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not much
Well-
use, you know.
no, probably not. It would be advertised everywhere,
Yeah.
but yeah, probably a mail out more for Tribunna people would be most
Yeah.
interested, I would think, to attend the meeting. Sorry, I didn't have time to type that up and hand that out, what I thought people would like to.
I did.
No, I meant what I wrote.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the brochure was good.
And I think it's important, the 4 blocks are for 4 serviced residential blocks, because it shows they'd be worth 100,000 each, it's 400,000. We're not just giving up land, we'd be getting more money back than what the proposed value of that land was. Anyway, plus 21 lots of rates, 21 new houses.
It's a good app.
I think it'd be good for it to go out to the broader community as much as possible, because in future we might, if this is successful, we might be looking to take it into the other communities. So it really needs to be advertised into the other
We're already
communities.
looking at other land in other towns where this could be extended.
Yes.
Could I, sorry,
I think if you're going to, if I may, if you're going to insert this in the minutes, the word "that" has to be removed from the beginning of it, because this is really advice in relation to it, isn't it? If you have a look at what's written on the screen now, it should be, I don't know, I mean, it's still reading like motions.
Well, it could be turned into a motion if you wish to turn it into a motion.
Yeah, sure.
You could drop it down into a motion if you wish to turn it into a motion.
Yeah, okay.
But it just logically made sense to me. I don't want the community to get very nervous about this, that that it's going to be, if it gets approved, that it would be a really bad thing. It's about 21 houses for the over 55 people that already live in our municipality that are looking for more affordable options in housing.
through the chair, if I could just say that I've already fended inquiries in relation to it, and it just might highlight the reason why I was asked was because nobody had a map, a plan, and everybody assumed the worst. And when you explained where it was, and without a plan, they, oh, that's okay, subject to them looking at it. But it just reinforces the requirement that when we do have instances like this in an agenda, for the sake of avoiding having to fend calls, it'd be great to have the maps.
If I may, I need to declare an interest in this.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because I actually live in centre care housing.
Okay.
Centre care.
Farewell.
So I'll leave. I do apologise to everybody that I didn't pick this up sooner.
Okay.
That's okay.
But I need to leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you go and sit in my office and not leave the door open, please?
Oh, yeah.
How are you going? You're writing. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I may, Mayor, I think it's good I think the process of a community meeting is good because in other parts where there's been social housing, if you like, because this is really what we're talking about, a social complex housing, there has been some angst from the community in relation to it in other areas, not in our municipal area. So I think we're a more welcoming community in the big scheme of things. So I think the fact that there will be this community meeting is a really good outcome.
Yep. And also they will be sharing the statistics of, I think,
how
over
many
100 people
Yeah, sure.
already on that list within our
Yep.
own municipality needing that
Yep.
accommodation,
Yep.
which will then free up other rentals, properties for other people that are more able to pay the higher rents. Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
Councillor
Cheryl,
Pike. No, I was just going to say, Councillor, if you've got something else would you like to add
Well,
to
I
the
was just going
discussion?
to, thank you, Councillor. I was just going to ask, I was away, as you're aware, some of the councillors visited an already existing site.
Very
Was-
impressed.
That's
Very,
what
very
I was
impressed. Yeah.
getting some wanted
Yeah.
some feedback, you know.
So Councillor Breeny, just quickly, Councillor Breeny and Churchill both went down, had a look at sites at various, and they were very, very impressed. In fact, they wanted to move in.
Oh, good.
Yes, they were that impressed.
Yeah.
Nice, good. Thanks, guys, because I
Just
wasn't-
through the chair, just to enhance that, the most impressive issue was that this group have an aftercare system in place whereby they provide support to their, what would you call them? Tenants. In relation to a lot of issues other than just paying the rent.
Yes.
Social, drug, alcohol care, things like that. So, and they're committed to a 30-year plan through government funding and things like that. So it's one of those things where people may have some concerns about low-cost housing or affordable housing, but the support that's given by this group, and presumably others as well, is quite commendable, and it was striking the fact that these people that we did see seem to be reinforcing the fact that this is an organisation that can be trusted. Hopefully that bears out in their proposals.
Yeah, Councillor Browning?
Yeah.
Through the Mayor, and also they talked about using the health services that we have available here and not starting up their own mental health, so trying to blend in with the community with what we've got here for our supports for people with mental health issues and
Or bring them if they need
or
it.
bring them.
Yeah, if we haven't got them.
If they need extra, they'll bring them. So I think, I think it'll be a good thing.
Yeah. And if they bring services for the whole community to use, not just obviously 21 tenants.
One of the issues that I believe, through the chair, that is something that council should consider. Yes, it is definitely beneficial to free up houses for people who may prefer to have smaller homes, downsizing and things like that, and it may provide the option for those premises for sale and for rent and for purchase. I wonder whether or not there are protections in place where those places that are vacated aren't just turned into B&Bs.
Oh, there is. Oh, no, there's not.
No.
No, sorry, I'm going the other way. I thought you meant the ones who were buying their properties. No, the other way. No, that is not. Absolutely not. That's a statewide policy. There's no, and that's not. People can do what they want with their own private house. That's
Exactly.
not what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, we say that it's very handy to be able to open up properties for the rental market for young couples who can't afford things now. We need to be sure that we're not just increasing the problem.
Okay, someone want to put think about a motion.
Yes.
Councillor Arnold?
I'd be happy to use those words as a motion. So in accordance with section 178 of the Local Government Act, the council intends to transfer land as per the proposed Centre Care Evolve Housing 21 unit development on lots 30, 31 and 94 Spencer Street Syndicare Evolve Housing to provide council with four serviced residential blocks, isn't it? Not
Yep.
services.
Yeah.
4 service residential blocks. Syndicare Evolve Housing will be obliged to pay council rates on the unit development. And a community meeting will be held in January 2020 to answer questions and obtain feedback from community members.
Excellent.
That's good.
Okay.
That's very good. It's a very nice motion, councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Mayor.
And seconded by councillor Simons, and all those in favour, unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item 9, motion.
Brenny, you might let Councillor Woods
Yeah,
know.
sorry, I forgot
Deputy
about
Mayor.
council. Yeah, come back. Oh, were you listening?
I could just hear all those in favour and I thought, right, that's my fault.
You heard me get excited. Yeah, obviously it went through.
Yeah,
And
thank
number 9, motion tracking document. And any comment on that? No. And council receives and notes the information contained within the motion tracking document. Number 10.
Mayor, if you just go back a bit.
Yes.
So the items that are actually saying complete could be removed in the next iteration of this, couldn't they?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Knock them off. And number 10 is questions without notice. Questions without notice? Yes.
I don't have a question, but if I may make 2 statements.
Yeah.
With your permission and council's permission. One is that I attended the end of year assembly at Vishno Primary School today, and I did have intentions of leaving early to get back here early, but I couldn't leave because it was so good. And congratulations to all those involved, and also I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Stay safe, be happy, and I look forward to being back here in January 2020. And I want to also, yes, I do actually, it's funny, but I'd also like to pay my respects to all our people that actually turn up here to our meetings, and thank you and wish you all a Merry Christmas as well. It's very much appreciated that you do take an interest in all things council, so thank you.
Here, Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Someone have a cup of tea and a bicky with us any time. Yes,
Now we're going to
Councillor
kick you
Branning.
out. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
The book. The book, yes, sorry, the book. This is very important. This is a book called Some of My Bush Friends in Tasmania, and it's from the East Coast Heritage Museum, and it says, to Glamorgan Spring Bay Council, best wishes, Glamorgan Spring Bay Historical Society Incorporated. Historical. I know, it's a hard one, isn't it? So we had morning tea with the volunteers this morning up there, and they provided this book for the council library, which is one they have published up there. So thank you, and maybe we could send a letter of thanks, thanking them for this book, which was very nice. It was very nice morning tea, and it was good to have an opportunity to look through the building. And I went upstairs, and the stairs were like that. And yeah, so, and Councillor Browning and Councillor Churchill was there. And where did I go? Into Swansea, Tribunna, Orford, and various other councillors did also. But it's been really good watching the kids perform.
The
And-
presentations have been.
And we also provided gave flowers to Jenny Amos and the lady at Orford, Colleen from Orford, because of them retiring. So on behalf of council and the community, we presented flowers to them both. So that was nice. Okay, so moving on to the items, so in our original agenda, item 2 has been dealt with, so now we've only got 4 items, and this will be slipped in, but it's what I read out to Mr. Murray earlier, which is the reasons for the reasons why these matters are closed. So I think we've covered that, and that'll be inserted in the agenda online. So, under Regulation 34 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulations 2015, Statutory Rules 2015, number 38, Regulation 34.6. At the next... No, I don't need to read that? What?
No.
Is that even there? Why is that there?
The meeting closed.
Okay,
Close to the
okay,
public.
the council